This is Jesse Austin with my co-host Carla Lenk, here with another episode of Community Business Matters. We have a very special guest today, and because he and Carla have a background together, I'd like to have Carla do the introductions and do a lot of the interviewing today.
All right, so today we have Jeff Ebel from Stevens Point. He and I have worked in SCORE I've worked with him since 2005, and he has owned a manufacturing company in Stevens Point, and is now an adjunct professor at Fox Valley Technical College. Is that correct?
I like the word professor. I call myself a presenter or a facilitator, but professor works fine for me.
Well, it's the adjunct that will screw you up. But tell us pretty much what you've been doing in the past that allows you to have this reality check with manufacturers, basically, because you started that company from scratch.
I did indeed. Matter of fact, I started two companies from scratch, one in the mid-'70s. And I didn't know much about woodworking or business. And we managed to make it 3 years until the money ran out. And then we figured, well, we're either going to have to learn how to run a business, or I'm going to have to go to school to learn how to run a business. Or get a job with someone, maybe a furniture company or wood manufacturer, and learn the business from internally, inside the company. And I opted for that because that way I got paid while I learned. So that worked out really well. I worked for Lullaby back in the late 70s, and I worked there for about 8 years. And I worked my way up a variety of different jobs, and ultimately ended up as appliance superintendent. We had about 175 employees. In 1986, I took a job with Sunrise Medical, which is Jern Sunrise. And they made metal furniture as well as wood furniture for the nursing home industry, for the hospitals, clinics, things of that sort. I worked there for about 3 years as a plant manager. And then in 1989, I had this great opportunity. That is, if you consider quit or get fired an opportunity. I had an opportunity to start my own business, which was actually at the very beginning, since the beginning of my career in the woodworking, was my intention, was to learn how to run the business, learn the trade, and then eventually started my own business. So that was a great opportunity for me, and I started a furniture business in my garage, making custom furniture. Interestingly enough, I kept very good relations with the companies that I worked for, and they became my first two very important customers. And I built all of the prototypes. You go back to their catalogs, and the furniture that you see in the catalogs was the product that I made for them. Well, I had to expand beyond just that, and I did pick up another customer. I had three main customers, and they were all in furniture. In about 1995, we went to a furniture show in Minneapolis. Just as we walked in the door, first thing we saw was this beautiful round oak claw and ball, you know, the style, turn of the century. Beautiful oak table, around about 48-inch diameter, solid oak. The price on it was $99, and that was delivered, finished, assembled, $99. And from my experience in woodworking, it didn't take me long to figure out how much material was in that table. And it would have cost me about $125 to buy the wood to make the table. Okay, that's not good, man. That's not a good place that you want to be jumping into, a good market. So it was a quiet ride home. I mean, the show had a lot of imported material. This was just the beginning of the tsunami from the east. At that time, it was just at the end of Taiwan, and now China was starting to really enter the market and be dominant in it. So this stuff was imported from China, and it was at prices that we couldn't buy the material for. Oh yeah, after the quiet ride home, we made a pivot. And back then I didn't know what a pivot was. Since then I have learned what a pivot is. And a pivot is when you realize you're going absolutely in the wrong direction and you make a sharp turn. And we turned, we got out of furniture completely. And for a little company, we had almost $70,000 invested in a line of office furniture. And on the way home, we decided to get out of it.
So,
And
but you maintained your company.
maintained the company, but we got completely out. Within 12 months, we were not making any furniture anymore. We had decided we looked at other opportunities, and we were looking for market segments that weren't as susceptible to foreign competition. And one of the areas that really stood out was the architectural woodworking area. And any building you go into has got architectural woodworking. It's the doors, the cabinetry that are things that are made specifically for that building. It requires a lot of hand holding, very long lead times. You have to be there because you are constantly going to the site, you're measuring, you're installing. So proximity is very important. That's a strategic advantage. That's a competitive advantage. So we felt that was a lot safer to move into than the furniture business. So it was the move that saved our company, because I was within actually 2 weeks of closing doors. I had no income for like a year and a half, so it was tough. But the architectural woodworking business, we stayed into the high-end stuff. We did a lot of curved stairways. As a matter of fact, there's a couple of very nice stairways in your neighborhood here that we've built and installed. And that led us into the yacht business. So for the last 10 years of the ownership of the business, most of our business was coming from the yacht industry.
Wow.
My company, I sold it in 2007. They still continue to make all of the interiors for formula boats. We did a lot of work for Sea Ray and for Chaparral here in Wisconsin, Skipperliner out in La Crosse. We did a little bit of work for Berger, but they made a substantial investment in their own wood shop, and they do their own woodworking now. But it was a niche market. There weren't a lot of people doing it because it was very exacting work. They were very particular about the work, and the finish was the high gloss, hand polished finishes. And
I'm sure if you own a yacht, you want everything to be just right.
Yeah, they could be a little particular. They wanted things perfect, and we could do that. That's what we specialized in. So we had a lot of room. As a matter of fact, we went to one trade show in Florida that was for the buyers of yacht manufacturers. Mm-hmm. They would go there to see what's new in the industry, vendors, suppliers that could provide components for making boats. And we went there the first year we went. It cost a substantial amount of money for us, a little company, the smallest booth. The whole thing cost us about $50,000 to get down there.
Wow.
That year, we hit our capacity. We were full up. And we had two other boat companies that wanted to do work with us, local, Carver Cruiser, wanted to do work with us, and we didn't have any capacity.
Wow.
So we were in demand because that kind of work, usually they would have to go to Italy for or to Europe. But now they found us.
So when you're working with budding entrepreneurs now, you know from whence you speak.
I never know enough. This is an interesting little aside here, is I learned more about business when I joined SCORE. Mm-hmm. I'm serious, than I did from all the work that I did in my business. When I joined SCORE, it allowed me to kind of reflect on some of the things that happened. And then I go, oh, okay, that's why that happened, or that's why this didn't happen. And it immediately made sense to me. It resonated because I had been through it. I had experienced the challenges, and SCORE said, this is how you should be doing that. And so immediately I understood it. And I also understood the value of what SCORE provides from the problems that I had experienced in my own business.
But Jeff has this unique experience. There's not many that have had owned manufacturing companies within the group. We have someone with IT, we have someone that was a CEO for a large company, we have sales, we have marketing, we have, I'm a generalist, I guess. We have just gotten someone that joined that was a legal counsel, and we have some accountants. So we have a fairly good cadre of people within central Wisconsin. However, we can go beyond our borders. We can go within the state if we have a client that wants whatever, and we can go back to our group and say, does anybody know anything about, and they all look at you blank, and then you go to the state, and then if you can't find anything there, then you go nationally. And Jeff was just talking to me about, he has a client in Alabama that is in woodworking. And so he was talking about that, that he's coming from a different perspective than this client is. Mm-hmm. So we do have, since the point that Central Wisconsin SCORE organized, and that must have been in maybe the early 70s or late 60s, that the group has been formally doing mentoring or counseling. As I used to call it counseling, now it's mentoring. And that, from the time that we started, our past chair, who has since passed away, we counted over close to 1,000 businesses that our group has helped start.
Okay.
Now, yes, it takes a lot of hard work on the part of the client, but we can help. And we have people that come back years afterwards and say, oh, could you please help me with this or help me with that? And I'm sure that you did that. Yes.
I used SCORE. I did. I my first visit was, like I mentioned to you, in the late 80s. And then again, after I started my business, I had SCORE counselors several times come in and talking to me and helping me with my business. So, yeah, no one person can ever know it all.
No, you can't.
Can ever know it all.
You
and
can't.
the people that I have seen in business that succeed take every opportunity to access the talent, the experience that's available, that people want to provide to small businesses, because it's good for everybody. We want businesses to succeed. That's why these people that are SCORE counselors are SCORE counselors.
That is free. We don't get paid.
Oh, you don't get paid?
No.
Oops.
Tried, but they shot me down. And really, I come from both SCORE and the Small Business Development Center, and I was with the Small Business Development Center down in the southern part of Wisconsin. I had to take, an oath of honor that I would not take anything from any client. And it's all confidential, and we keep with that. At least I do. I won't even accept a cup of coffee.
No, yeah, that's standard practice.
They wouldn't even accept a cup of coffee from me for this production, so.
I'm not going to say a word.
Oh, wait a second. What kind of coffee is it?
No, but people, they come to us, and sometimes it's a blank canvas. They don't know what they want. They don't know what they need. They want to start a business. But I have had one client who was in the Army, and he was going to retire from the Army, and he came in and he sat down and he says, okay, I'm here. And he was dressed in fatigues, and he had his cap, he took it off. He says, okay, now tell me, what kind of business should I be in? I don't have a clue. So it doesn't work that way. You have to have some idea. Well, then he thought maybe he might buy a liquor store in the area. I said, okay, is that what you really want to do? Well, no, but I can't think of anything else, and I heard that this was for sale. Not a good way to start a business. This is not something that you had a lot of passion about. And one of the things that I have noticed working with people, the people who will succeed are the people who are passionate about it.
Passion is a prerequisite. If you don't have that, if you're not excited about what you want to do, nobody's going to be excited about what you want to do. Okay. So that goes without saying. But yeah, I have found that in some cases, again, if they're excited about doing a business for whatever reason, if they don't know specifically what they want, they can actually be in a position that's advantageous to them. And because I've had counsel a lot of clients that have absolute, for a certain very specific idea of what it is they want to do. They haven't even asked if there are customers that would be willing to pay for it.
They haven't investigated the market.
They haven't looked at, they just think this is because they thought it's got to be beautiful and it's going to make them a millionaire. But you have a unique product. Nobody else is doing it, but maybe the reason nobody else is doing it is because nobody wants to buy it.
Right.
So, and sometimes they're so fixated on that they lose any peripheral vision. And like I had to pivot if making furniture would have been my absolute sole objective, I may have lost my business.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be in woodworking, which was a lot broader, and there are a lot of ways to be in the woodworking industry. So by trial and error, I eventually figured it out. And anybody is welcome to do it that way if they want. But there's a faster way and there's an easier way to find your target market. There's resources. That's what SCORE can help you with. That's what the mentors and the advisors can help you figure out if you don't know. But you have to have an open mind, and that's where sometimes somebody coming in not knowing very specifically what they want to do, if they still have that passion to start and build their own business, that can be actually an advantage.
Well, one of the pleasures I've had from co-hosting this program with Carla is that the vast majority of our guests have been people that Carla has helped. And
Carla has helped a lot of people in the community.
And so I was wondering, is there, you don't have to go into detail about the individual, but is there a company or an individual that you've counseled that has come back to you and said, I really appreciated what you did?
Yes, actually. Forgive me, I can't remember your name, but one of my students in the ETP class a couple years ago.
You better say what that is.
Oh, ETP, I'm sorry, yeah. Entrepreneurship Training Program, and that's through SBDC and Continuing Ed at the University of Wisconsin. I've been an instructor for that for
Eons.
8-9 years maybe.
So this former mentee of yours came back and...
Well, I ran into her and her husband at an event. I play music on weekends. That's my side job. We have a little band, and we were playing at the Meet Inn here, and ran into her there. And she was just thanking me for the guidance and the direction, and they ended up buying the business they wanted to buy, and it's been working well for them. So it's great. And I am always very curious to know how they end up. Who has been successful, who didn't succeed. And here again, when you talk about business failures, I found that more businesses, they call it fail, which is really the wrong term to use. It's business closures. And really, failures are not that, they're not as common as you would be led to believe. Most of them are business closures. They consider in the failure, if you sell your business, you could be wildly successful and make lots of money selling your business. When it changes ownership, they consider that as a failure or a closing.
Oh, okay.
If you close your business, you could be wildly successful again, but just come to find out, you don't want to work Saturdays and Sundays and Monday through Fridays. That you want a life. Some people want a life. They have a family, so it isn't providing them this lifestyle that they had wanted or anticipated. So they either sell it out to somebody else or they close it down. That doesn't mean they failed. It means it just closed. So I'm careful when I talk about business failures or business closures, but most of it is because lifestyle.
Well, we have one person who I always grit my teeth on when he says, but the best thing that I can do is to say to this person not to start a business. I go,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever said that to anyone.
I would never tell anyone not to start a business.
But he figures that it's too much time, money spent in order to get it up and going.
It's not for me to say.
That's right. It's someone else's dream. It's not your dream.
Exactly. It's not my dream. I need to do everything possible to direct them to the resources and the information that they need to be successful. And also to go into it with their eyes open so they can calculate what is going to happen. That's called doing your financial projections, writing your business plan. This is how many hours a day you're going to have to work. This is how many days a week. This is what kind of compensation you'll be able to take. All those things. You can know that before you open your doors. You don't have to open your doors and then try and figure it out.
That's right.
So, yeah.
There's lots of things that go into it, and you really do need an accountant. Not a bookkeeper, but an accountant. You can have a bookkeeper within the office, but you need a CPA finally at the end of the year to sit down with you and say, is this working? Is this not working? How much profit have you made? How much is your profit consumed by things that you hadn't thought about before? Could be something like mileage. It's I worked with one company on the eastern part of Wisconsin, and they were a small manufacturing company, and they had to make something for the federal government, and one of the things that they had to do was to provide a manual. You never thought about that. Like A goes into B, and
Sure.
all these different
Square peg
instructions.
and round hole.
Yeah, and I said, how much is that going to cost? Well, what do you mean, how much is it going to cost? I says, you're going to have to provide that. It has to be printed. You have to have, for every thing you're making, you have to have a manual that goes with it. Oh. So that came out to something like $12.95 times 500. And he would have had to eat that cost if I hadn't stopped him. He was about ready to put the bid in. I said, no.
Yeah, so lead them to make the right choice for them. Is it the right time? Is it the right product? Is it the right location? There are so many variables. You provide the tools, you direct them to the resources, and if they do it well, they will come up with their own conclusion, and it's going to be the right conclusion. It's going to be the right choice.
Okay. Well, one of the reasons that this program was created was to highlight the success stories that we've had in our community of individuals who have gone into business for themselves, but also for a self-serving reason, is to encourage other entrepreneurs to come and be our guests and to give them resources, to give them information about resources that are available to them, such as SCORE.
Right.
Yes.
And so I would ask either one of you, both of you can respond to this question. How does one get started getting in touch with SCORE to get all this great information and for free?
Well, they can always call Jesse, and then he'll give you my telephone number.
Or
I'm in the phone book, or you can go to Stevens Point's phone book. I think that you're in the phone book.
centralwisconsinscore.org. Another place you can always look up the national score, score.org, SCORE.org, and you can put in a zip code, and it will provide several SCORE chapters that are within your area. Reach out to them. They have counselors that are there specifically to help you.
Yes.
Take advantage of every opportunity, and SCORE is a great program, and they have great counselors and mentors, and they can get you connected to the valuable resources that are out there besides just the SCORE organization. And there are a lot of support services in your area that, again, exist with the purpose of helping people be successful in their businesses. You don't have to do it by yourself.
Great. Well,
I just wanted to relate also that we do programming. We do put on several classes. Some of them are very basic, like starting and surviving a small business, and you do that at Stevens Point.
Can I mention something about
Sure.
that? We are rebranding that program. We're updating it.
I know, but I can't remember the name of it.
First Steps. It's called First Steps. And we are doing it with a consortium with CAP Services and SBDC and SCORE. And that will look for it in a community near you. We want to bring it to the central Wisconsin area, so not just, we were doing it in Stevens Point pretty much exclusively.
Well, for like, what, 10 years?
12 plus.
12?
I joined SCORE
And got that
for
job.
doing that presentation, so that was my first job in SCORE. But we want to bring it to the Wisconsin Rapids area, we want to bring it to the Marshfield area, and Wapaka as well, and so we may have several opportunities within a year for those communities as well to.
But you're starting in
benefit from
September?
that. Their official launch is September. We do have one session scheduled for July. That would be the second Wednesday in July, and I don't know exactly what the date is. But you can always check on Continuing Ed website. They'll have that listed. SBDC, you can always contact them, or again, score.org and ask for one of the counselors and they can give you the date. That's a free program. It's 3 hours on a Wednesday night from 2.5 hours, 6:30 to 9 on the second Wednesday of every other month in Stevens Point.
And what is SBDC again? I'm sorry.
SBDC is Small Business Development Center, and Carla, you're probably the best one to explain what SBDC is.
That was my trampoline jump from just doing domestic business to international business. So I was one of the few people in the SBDCs in Wisconsin that actually did international. I brought China. I was integral in the group
So
that
you're responsible for me getting out of furniture then?
I am not. That happened before I was there.
Sure, okay.
But we did open the Wisconsin International Bureau in Tokyo, and we also opened it in Hong Kong. And where else did we go? We were in Korea, South Korea. So the governor at that time took an entourage of people, and I was one of them, and then we went to all these different places. And
SBDC is funded by SBA, Small Business Administration.
Right,
And so
right.
is SCORE. But yeah, we work closely with the SBDCs and SCORE. Yeah, a great organization. We have 2 new directors
Right.
at the Stevens Point office, Melissa Meschke and Mark Spear. Both wonderful folks to work with. So we're very fortunate to have an office here in Stevens Point area in central Wisconsin, Rapids area.
yeah, our administrative office is in Marshfield with Mackey, Marshfield Area Chamber of Commerce, and Karen Olson is our administrator over there.
And one of our counselors.
And one of our counselors also.
She's a member.
Well, we hope that you've gotten out the special presentation with the special guest, Jeff Ebel, is that there are resources for all you budding entrepreneurs out there, and we want you to be able to take advantage of the expertise of people like Jeff and of Carla, and then become successes and appear in our program and tell us all about it. And so,
And even if they've started already, you know,
Absolutely.
it
You don't
doesn't have to be
absolutely.
a startup. It has to, could be that you've been going for a couple of years. And why in the world did you do this? And how did you get started? And where are you located? It's a marketing piece of programming that you can get for free.
thank you
Why not do it?
thank you both for bringing that point up. If you're already in business, this is also a good resource for you to take advantage of. So, thank you so much. This has been very enjoyable.
It was my
very-
pleasure.
Very informative. Thank you so
My
much.
pleasure. Thanks, Carla, for
You're
inviting me.
welcome.
I appreciate it.
Okay. So, with that, that'll wrap up this episode of Community Business Matters. We hope to see you next month.